Hello, everybody. This is Deborah Gaston. I am your uh, book midwife. I am the owner of Total Concept Publishing and Deborah Gaston LLC, and the best selling author of Self Publish From Concept to Creation, 6 Keys to Writing and Publishing Your Book Now. And I'm just jumping on real quick to answer some of your questions. For those of you who follow me, I posted something either Saturday or Sunday asking for your questions that I shared with you that I'm finishing up my fourth book. This will be my third book on writing. And I want to make sure that I answer all your questions, any questions that you may have about the writing process or the self-publishing process. Having published 3 books of my own and helping others walk through that process, I know that there are a lot of questions that go unanswered if you're trying to do it on your own. And so I want to be able to help you kind of move through that process without all the angst and anxiety and overwhelm that a lot of people think has to come with writing a book. So I posted, and Leslie uh, responded and she gave me several questions. But what I'm going to do very briefly today is just answer her first couple of questions. So Leslie asked, do you need a habit of daily writing before you begin writing content? And then her second question that I'm going to actually, I think I may answer 3 of these questions today. The first question is, do you need a habit of daily writing before you begin writing content? The second question is, how do you create a sustainable goal for the amount of time spent writing, be it a number of days or the length of time in a day? And then the other one has to do with having an audience profile before you begin your book. And so I'm going to answer those questions particularly. Um, Let me pull some stuff up here a moment. And one of the things that I know that is very, very, very important in terms of writing your book and finishing your book is not so much whether you have a, a habit, though I think it is very important that if you're writing and you're not in the habit of writing daily, you want to build that muscle, but it's not necessary before you start writing content. What is more important than starting one before you write content is making sure that you plan your book well. And when I speak of planning your book, I mean you want to know exactly the purpose of the book on 2 levels. How will it benefit you? I always ask, how am I going to use this book once it is published? How does it fit in with the greater purpose of my life? So you have a purpose for a specific book, but you want to see how that book fits in to the overall purpose or call on your life. So one, you need to know your purpose for the book, how it will benefit you, and how it will benefit your readers. What is the benefit for your reader to pick up your book and actually read it from cover to cover? Then you'll need to know exactly who your reader is. And that ties into that last question. Yes, you need to have what some people will call an ideal reader avatar or profile, but you have to know who you're writing for. Your book is not for everybody. Your book is for a specific group of people who need the information that you can share with them. Most times it's someone who is like you once were, and now that you have the answers or you know how to bring about the transformation that they need to read your book. For example, my last book, well, the last 2 books were actually for readers, but I'll talk about my second book, which was Finding Your Flow, answering the writer's call through faith, love, obedience, and worship. I had a very specific person in mind when I was writing that book. And that person was someone who was like I had once been, struggling to get started with my book and not knowing anything about um, how to begin and how to go about the publishing process. And shifting, the goal was to shift mindsets because I began to see writing from a different perspective, which made it a little easier, put a priority on it. But as I'm sitting at the computer typing out my manuscript, I'm envisioning one person. So you want to be clear that you know who your audience is. I say you need to know your why, you need to find your tribe, and you need to be very clear on your message. It's all about the planning. Be very clear on your message. How does the message tie into the overall purpose so that you're not writing more than you need to write, and everything that you're including is serving the reader. Your book is to serve your reader. It's not about what you want to put in it or what you enjoy or a lot of other things. It must serve the reader and the purpose of the book. So you want to make sure that you know your why. You want to make sure that you know your tribe, your people. um, I say your mission, your why, your market, your people. You want to make sure that you're clear on your message, and then you want to have a map. Where's your reader at the beginning of the book? Where do you want them at the end of the book? And how are you going to get them there? And that becomes your outline. And so you want to make sure that you have a very clear outline that's going to take your reader from where they are to where you want them to be or where they need to be by the end of the book. I think the planning is more important than having a habit of writing on a daily basis. Certainly, that does not hurt at all. I absolutely believe that if you are not in the habit of writing regularly, starting to build that muscle is really important. And one of the best ways to do that is through journaling. And I may spend some time on another live just talking about the benefits of journaling. But you have to have a plan and you have to make some decisions about the things that will work for you. So that takes us into Leslie's second question about sustainable goals. You know what works for you. You know what kind of person you are. You know if you're a morning person, a night person. You know the flow of your day. You know where you have blocks of time that you can fill in. I never suggest, especially if you're not in the habit of writing regularly, don't set these lofty goals for yourself. Set small goals, and once you achieve the small goals, then increase them. For example, if you're not used to writing for an hour or 2 hours at any given setting, start with 30 minutes. What's more important than the number of words you write or the amount of time you write is consistency. So if I can get 30 minutes a day in for a period of time and see some progress, because 30 minutes, 10 minutes of writing is better than no writing at all. Ideally, you want to write every day, but you also have a life. None of us are doing this as a full-time job. So you have to look at how your days flow and where do you have pockets of time that you can set aside to write. The key is, however, you have to know that this is a priority. One of the things that I like to say, and many of you know that I see writing as an act of worship, and worshipers, those who are uh, have an intimate and daily relationship with God, exhibited through obedience. Don't become worshipers by being casual about their relationship with God. We don't become the kind of worshipers that God is seeking by just kind of hit and miss. We develop a habit of spending time with Him. We develop the habit of reading His Word. We develop the habit of just waiting in His presence and listening. We develop this a habit, and we grow and we grow and we grow, and our knowledge of Him and our relationship with Him deepens and becomes more intimate because we have a habit of spending time with Him, whether it's through prayer or the Word or worship or just waiting. Writing is the same way. You don't become an author, you don't move from writer to author by being casual about it. Your book is not going to be written when you write when it's only convenient for you. And you definitely are not going to write a book by osmosis. You can watch every video, you can read every book on how to write a book, but the only way it's going to get done is you sit down and you write. But again, set small goals. Some people prefer to say, I'm going to write an hour a day every day. Some people may only be able to write every other day for an hour. If you're just starting, start with 30 minutes and then add time to that as you see, oh, when I get to 30 minutes, I still have something to say. And then to keep writing. You can set a timer. 30 minutes is up, I'm going to stop. Again, know what's the optimal for you. I prefer to write in the morning when our mind is fresh and clear. If you've got a family, you've got a job, you may want to set aside an hour before you have to get up and get going. Said I always like to think of that writing time as your sacred time, that time where you're actually going to, it's just as sacred as the time you spend in prayer and the time you spend in the word. And make sure people know this is my writing time. Turn off the ringers on your phone, close all the browsers on your computer, and just write for that amount of time. And that's probably the easiest way to build that muscle. In answer to the question about a writing habit before you start, you don't need to do that before you start. It is definitely beneficial because you're in the practice of writing regularly. But more important than anything, more important than the number of words that you write, more important than the length of time that you write every day, or whether you even write every day, is consistency. If I set a schedule and say I'm going to write for an hour on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and maybe Saturday mornings, stick to the schedule. Again, it's consistency that's going to make the difference. You would be surprised what you can get accomplished in 30 minutes a day, even 15 minutes a day, as long as you are consistent. So the answer to your question, I hope I answered your question, Leslie. The answer to your question is it can be beneficial. A writing practice or a habit of writing regularly can be beneficial, but it's not as needed as planning well before you sit to write your content and knowing who you're writing for. So, yes, you need to have an ideal reader profile or an avatar. Ask as much as you need to know, what age is this person I'm writing for? What are their struggles? What do they like to do? And that's the kind of person that you're writing specifically for. While your book may benefit other people, your book is not for everybody. It's not for all women. It's not for all men. It's not for all teenagers. It's not even for all people who are dealing with trauma from their childhood. You want to be as specific as possible, excuse me, so you reach that audience. Where how are you going to find them and how are they going to find you if you're writing for all women? It sounds counterintuitive, but it really is work. It really does work. You cannot write for everybody and expect to reach anybody. And that's, I'm going to end now. If you are ready to write your book, I am overwhelmed to help you. I just really have this passion for seeing kingdom writers become kingdom authors and use their books on whatever sphere of influence God has placed you in order to advance his kingdom. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about that and what I hope to be building over these next few months with writers just like you. But if you're ready and you just don't know how to get started and you've got a lot of questions about writing, again, you can send the questions to me. You can write them in here in the chat. You can DM me. You can email me at deborah@deborahgaston.com. But more importantly, I want to send you to my website and I want you to book a call with me so we can talk about your books. So you can go to Deborah Gaston at deborahgaston.com and /strategy and book a call with me, an hour uninterrupted call. I'll answer your questions. I'll ask you some questions and we'll decide, help you kind of craft what that book is going to look like and see if we are a good fit. I'd love to help you finish and publish your book. Your book can help so many people. So make sure that you send me your questions and make sure that you book your call, deborahgaston.com /strategy. I'd love to work with you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.